It's January 16th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today and the Treasury Titans. Nothing in this video is financial advice. And listen, the market's decided to become Krabby McCrabby once again, just kind of floating up and down in the 95s. Nobody likes to see it. But again, if you told us a couple weeks ago that we'd be up in the 95s, we'd be happy. So let's just be happy and see what happens going forward. Frankly, not much going on in the past 24 hours when it comes to MSTR, and that's just the reality. Also, I'm at an event here in Florida, so my time is kind of limited. I have multiple speaking engagements today, so I'm going to be buzzing all around. So what I'm going to do is just play what I consider one of the most heated clips of Michael Saylor I have ever seen, I've ever heard. I'm sure many of you have already heard this at least one time, but I'm telling you, listen through it. Listen to it through again, because there's certain nuances that I missed listening the first time, the second time, because I was kind of focused on how fired up Michael Saylor was getting, that I wasn't paying as close attention to the words. After you kind of get through the first listen, which I'm sure many of you have done, the second listen really kind of pulls out some things that are pretty interesting. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Michael Saylor doing his thing. And then we'll be back at you tomorrow, hopefully with some really interesting and exciting news around this amazing company called Strategy and the most pristine capital in the world called Bitcoin. So enjoy your Friday, get fired up for the weekend, and Michael Saylor, take it away.
But we see a lot of these companies crop up that really don't have a business. All they're doing is trying to issue debt and buy Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, aren't there plenty of people, like individuals, that don't have a business and they buy Bitcoin too?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to criticize them?
No, I just don't know why.
Like, if you're not as rich as Bill Gates and you buy Bitcoin, should I criticize you?
No, of course not. But the problem I have, I guess, is why would anyone buy shares in that company as opposed to one like Strategy?
Well, every company has a different value proposition, and the answer. By the way, Danny, like, the whole point, the message I've delivered every day for the past 5 years is buy Bitcoin, because there's a lot of counterparty risk when you invest in a company.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you buy NVIDIA? Why do you buy Apple? Why do you buy, Coca-Cola? Why do you buy Disney? Why do you buy an airline?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's the old story, how do you become a millionaire? Start with $1 billion and invest in an airline. Okay, the world's full of companies that are bad investments,
mm-hmm.
right? The world's full of them. There's 400 million companies. So the question for you is, why haven't you invested in any of the 400 million? It's like,
because I buy Bitcoin.
Okay. So criticizing a company that buys Bitcoin misses the point. Well, why don't you criticize all the companies that don't buy Bitcoin? Are they even worse? The answer is there are some companies that have very good businesses and they're cash flow positive, and there are some companies that have very awful businesses and they're cash flow negative. Okay, if you take a good business and you buy Bitcoin, it's a better business.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a bad business, a business that's losing money, and you buy Bitcoin, you might very well offset the operating results, right? If you're losing 10 million a year in the operating business and you hold $100 million of Bitcoin on the balance sheet and you're making 30 million in capital gains on the balance sheet, then actually, now the question is, you're going to criticize that business for what? Like, I give you a business that's losing 10 million a year and it's got 100 million in cash, and its choice is to buy Bitcoin and probably make 30 million in unrealized gains or Bitcoin gains, or to give away the money, right? Buy back its stock. I mean, what would you do?
Yeah.
Right? Take the $100 million and buy back your stock. If you had a money-losing business, would you buy back your stock?
I'd buy Bitcoin.
But by the way, when you buy back the stock of a money-losing business, aren't you just amplifying your losses 3 times as fast?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if I had $100 million in cash and I bought the stock of a money-losing business, I would just be going out of business faster, right? That's not smart.
Mm-hmm.
If I had 100 million and I bought treasury bills yielding 3%, then, okay, well, so I'm making 3 million a year, but I'm losing 10 million a year. So I'm just going out of business like 1/3 slower, right? If I took the 100 million and I bought Bitcoin with it, and Bitcoin goes up 30% a year for the next 20 years to create a simple model, I'm generating $30 million of Bitcoin gains. I got $10 million of losses. Now I'm making $20 million a year. Didn't I just save the company?
Mm-hmm.
So why are you criticizing that company? I mean, the criticism is not that they bought Bitcoin. The criticism is that they're losing money. Okay, well, I'll give you a choice. You can invest in a company that's losing 10 million a year with no Bitcoin, or you can invest in a company that's losing 10 million a year and making 30 million a year off the Bitcoin and making 20 million a year. Which of the two would you invest in?
But I guess the question more is, though, do you think the market can sustain this many treasury companies? Because we see, especially the smaller ones, almost all of them are now trading at like a significant discount to their
I think you're just missing the point. You're like the Bitcoin community tends to eat its young. Like they would rather criticize a company that buys Bitcoin than criticize a company that doesn't buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you focus upon criticizing the money-losing companies that don't own Bitcoin? Why would you buy them? Why aren't you criticizing them?
No, I agree with that. But it's not that I'm criticizing them. It's just that the shareholders in some of these other treasury companies are getting absolutely crushed. And like, is there any way that some of these companies ever get back to like a 1x MNAV?
Yeah, I just don't accept the criticism. You made an investment in a company. Why did you invest in the company, right? My problem with the premise is you somehow think that it's okay for 400 million companies to not buy Bitcoin, and you like that. And you're going to criticize the companies, the 200 companies that bought Bitcoin. And that's the thing, that's your brilliance?
The thing that I would
How is it brilliant for you to ignore the fact that 400 million companies didn't buy Bitcoin, and somehow that's okay, and you're going to criticize the 200 companies that bought Bitcoin?
No, that's not the criticism I'm making. Because like if
you're just criticizing someone that bought an equity at the wrong price. Why don't you actually put the focus upon the people that make the investment decision? The companies don't determine the price their stock trades at.
Mm-hmm.
So my point here is, what is your brilliant insight, Danny, that people shouldn't buy Bitcoin? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I think people buying Bitcoin is cool.
Okay, well, if it's okay for Bitcoin, well, what about an unemployed person? You want to criticize them for buying Bitcoin?
Of course not.
Well, what if you have debt? You want to criticize the person with debt for buying Bitcoin?
Of course not.
Well, then why are you criticizing a company for buying Bitcoin?
I mean, I'm not criticizing
If it's a good company that buys Bitcoin, is better. And if it's a bad company that buys Bitcoin, is better than it would have been.
No, I'm not criticizing any company here at all. I'm just saying I'm skeptical of whether the market can sustain like 200 plus treasury companies, because what I don't understand
why would you? That's kind of like saying I'm skeptical that the market can sustain 200 people to buy Bitcoin.
No, because it's not.
What's the difference?
It's the idea of just issuing debt to buy Bitcoin rather than being like a cash flow positive business.
That's just an ignorant, offensive statement on your part.
Please tell me why.
Who are you to say they're just issuing debt to buy Bitcoin, right? You said that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's 400 million companies in the world. You're going to take the position that only 10 can buy Bitcoin. Why can't all 400 million companies buy Bitcoin?
Of course they can.
Well, don't they do things?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but it's the companies that don't do anything that I am. Again, I'm not criticizing anyone.
Okay, but the point, but you're not criticizing a company that buys Bitcoin. You're criticizing a company that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's 400 million companies. How many of the 400 million don't do anything? Why don't you just focus on that? We can agree that you shouldn't invest in companies that don't do anything, that make irrational decisions, but can't we just leave it at that?
When you want more for your business, start with Northwest Registered Agent and get access to thousands of free guides, tools, and legal forms to help you launch and protect your business all in one place. Build your complete business identity with Northwest today. Your business identity is more than your logo or website. It's everything that defines who you are and how you operate, from what your customers see to what they don't, like operating agreements, meeting minutes, and compliance paperwork. With Northwest, you'll get more for your business, more privacy, more guidance, and more free resources than you'll find anywhere else. For nearly 30 years, Northwest Registered Agent has helped entrepreneurs form, grow, and protect their businesses. They're the largest registered agent and LLC service in America, powered by over 1,500 corporate guides, real people who know the local laws. It can help you every step of the way. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and get your complete business identity in just 10 clicks and 10 minutes. Visit www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free. Michael Saylor just made an $835 million bet buying the Bitcoin dip. Right now, Bitcoin's fallen almost 40% off its October high, and the big money is buying the dip. What's your strategy? Now might be a great time to convert your IRA or 401k to Bitcoin with the help of Bit IRA. Plus, you can fund it with pre-tax funds, then continue to invest in it over time as you do any other retirement account. Bit IRA protects your assets with end-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and registered with the US government. Your IRA is fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without incurring taxes on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Bitcoin has proven time and time again to rebound, every cycle going from a higher low to a higher high. With Strategy's latest purchase, Michael Saylor clearly believes Bitcoin is at a discount. Time for you to get into. Go to bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin.
Like, I mean, I just think it's kind of it's a silly notion that you want to criticize a company that makes a rational decision. What do you want them to buy instead of Bitcoin, right? What are you promoting instead of Bitcoin, right?
No, it's maybe
you have 200 companies that have decided to buy Bitcoin. It's like, that's like criticizing the 200 companies that adopted electricity. You're like, well, there's one of them is better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes electricity bad? How is it irrational for a company to adopt a new technology which is better than the previous technology?
No, that's not rational at all. What I worry about is the companies that may be seeing this as like a cash grab rather than actually trying to build anything interesting.
Okay, but we're not here to promote bad companies, are we?
Mm.
That's kind of like, okay, well, I invented electricity and some dude that sells, I don't know, like cardboard cotton candy placards for $1 billion announces he's going to buy electricity. I mean, my point is, like, should you invest in the cardboard cotton candy company that sells cotton candy cardboard boxes for $1 billion? Of course not. But my problem with your framing is you're saying, I don't know if the market has room for more than a couple of companies to buy Bitcoin. Look, the market has room for every company on earth to buy Bitcoin. Right? The market, and by the way, there's a simple way to think about this. If you've got a successful business or a healthy business and you're generating cash and you buy Bitcoin, won't you be better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you have a business which sometimes makes money, it's a struggling business, and some years it makes money, some years it doesn't make money, but you have a lot of cash, wouldn't you be better to invest the cash in Bitcoin than give it away?
Yes, absolutely.
Wouldn't you be better to invest the cash in Bitcoin than buy treasuries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so good companies benefit from buying Bitcoin, and then struggling companies benefit from buying Bitcoin. Now, if you have a company which makes no money, that's never going to make any money, that has $100 million in cash, your choice is give the money away, you've got no company. Invest the money in Bitcoin, you've got a company that generates no cash in its operating business but makes $30 million a year, growing at 30% a year. I give you a digital company that is generating $30 million a year, growing 30% a year. Was that a good decision by the company?
Yep.
Okay, and so now your issue is, now I have a company which is losing $10 million a year forever, and I can make $30 million in Bitcoin, growing 30% a year. That means I start with, $20 million, but the business is growing. It statistically, by the way, if you start with $100 million in Bitcoin and you bolt on $10 million of losses forever, then the business converges on the same result as a business that doesn't lose anything forever, because eventually you're making $1 billion a year and you're generating 10 million in losses. And so you've still got a business making $1 billion a year. Is that a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's your problem? Right. Like your problem is, I think part of the issue is people in the Bitcoin community can't imagine buying equity, or they're like, well, that's not as good as buying Bitcoin. Well, that's not actually true. It is as good as buying. It's actually better, because corporations have all sorts of tax advantages and all sorts of operational advantages. Take the business, which is losing 10 million a year. That business can generate $1 billion of capital and turn around and go raise money at 5%, risk-free, 10 years out, and buy Bitcoin with it, lever it up, and they'll probably outperform Bitcoin. What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if it's better than buying Bitcoin in the sense that you don't get to actually hold the Bitcoin. It may outperform it.
But the point is, you want to buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But what's with all the hate? It's like, it's just so dysfunctional. Like all of the toxicity in the community. There's 400 million businesses. Like, don't you have a business, Danny?
I do.
Okay.
With Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Okay. So you want me to sit and do podcasts talking about how you shouldn't buy Bitcoin and you'll never be as good as some other Bitcoin treasury company, and like heaping scorn on you and then criticizing all your, if you find some venture capitalist that wants to give you $10 million and invest in what Bitcoin did, should I then send emails and nasty grams to them, calling them stupid and criticizing them because they want to invest in you? And like, it's like, the point is, you have a business, you have to make a living. Your business is better with Bitcoin. By the way, what about the venture capitalists? I mean, like the subtext of all this is sort of like some toxicity and hatred and ignorance of people that invest in businesses for a living. Like the venture capitalist literally has a job where he has to invest capital in your business. He has to. He's not allowed to buy Bitcoin. Okay, so, well, you're not going to be the biggest Bitcoin treasury company, Danny, but the point is, the VC needs to invest in someone. He wants to invest in a podcaster. You can choose to take the money and buy Bitcoin with it, or you can not buy Bitcoin with it. I'm not sitting hating on you, and I'm not hating on him, and I'm not gleefully, disparaging people that buy equities. The point is, that guy's in the business of buying private equity. You're in the business of creating private equity. There are other people in the business of buying public equity. There are literally tens of trillions of dollars of capital locked up in the market, and they can't buy Bitcoin. They can't invest in a private company. They have to invest in a public company. And the issue is, should a public company buy Bitcoin so they can invest in it? Of course they should. Right? That some of them need to buy Japanese companies. Some of them need to buy Brazilian companies. I have capital. I have to invest in Brazilian companies. So you're a Brazilian company. You buy Bitcoin with it. You're never going to be the biggest Bitcoin holder in the United States. But what does that matter? So what happens if you're the 14th company in Brazil that buys Bitcoin? Well, I mean, the whole point here, the part that people are missing is, and this is my issue with the Bitcoin community in general, they would rather eat their young, and they would rather criticize other people that buy Bitcoin or support Bitcoin in a different way than them. Like, you're not a self-custody maxi, or you don't do it the way I should do it. You should put it on like 16 titanium plates and bury it under the dirt in 8 continents in order to be a true Bitcoiner. They've got all these criticisms, but 99% of the world doesn't even know they exist and won't give them a nickel and hates them. Or constructively, 99% of the world is your enemy, and they don't criticize the 99% of the world that's their enemy. They focus on the 1% of the world that agrees with them on 99% of substantive values. And so, like, we spend so much time being critical of other Bitcoiners. What's the second best? There is no second best.